Welcome to At Issue. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is H. Wayne Wilson, and this time we're going to be talking about the progress, or in some cases maybe the lack of progress, in where we've been since the Civil Rights Act was signed July 2nd of 1964. We're going to talk about it a little on the national level, but more importantly on the local level, because there's been a change in leadership in the Peoria chapter of the NAACP. Many of you remember Don Jackson as being the president for quite some time, 21, almost 22 years as local president, and then a stint with the state also.
That's correct, yeah. 15 years with the state as president.
And besides that, you had to earn some money because the NAACP presidency is a volunteer.
Strictly volunteer.
So you are a civil rights attorney.
That's correct, yes.
So you have, after more than 2 decades, stepped aside, effective this past month, for your replacement, yes, who is Pastor Marvin Hightower. He is the new president. He had been first vice president, mm-hmm, and you also are pastor at Liberty Church in Peoria.
That's correct.
Thank you both for being here, and thank you
My
for 2 decades of service to the NAACP.
Thank you.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually more than that, because you were involved before you were president.
Yeah, exactly right, yeah.
Before we get into some of the issues, let's talk about the origin. And Don, if you could talk about the Peoria chapter celebrated 100 years in 2015. What can you tell us about the history?
Well, the NAACP, of course, was created out of the riots in Springfield, Illinois in 1908, yeah. Mm-hmm. And it just happened to be at that time that there was a fella in Springfield there for business. He owned a newspaper in New York City, and he was there during the course of the riots. And when he left Springfield, he of course decided that it was time to create an organization to address the needs of African Americans in the country. And at the same time, of course, Du Bois was creating the Niagara movement that almost paralleled the ideas that this man, and his name escapes me at this point. And so he contacted Du Bois. The word went out. They got other members, other individuals to come do some work on the formation of the NAACP. And sort of adopted the format of the Niagara movement, and which later became this organization. We, of course, came on board as the city of Peoria, came on board in 1915.
6 years after the national.
6 years after the national, and we've been an active organization since that time. All volunteers. We like to say that a lot.
Yeah, exactly right.
So with 102 years of history, where have we come from and where are we going locally? What's your assessment on progress, just in a broad perspective?
Well, when I had moved away for a short time, for about 10 years, I went to school, and I came back, and when I came back to pastor the church, I immediately rejoined the NAACP and got involved. And one of the things I discovered was that we were still fighting the same fights that were being fought in the 60s, which kind of surprised me, because I thought we had gotten further along than we actually had, especially locally. So as far as progress, we've had some, but I've also seen a lot of regression as well. So we're still doing the same things that were being done even then.
And just for perspective, Pastor Hightower's father was very involved as well.
Yes, yes.
Calvin Hightower.
Yes.
Let's talk specifics in your estimation, some of the successes over the last 30, 40 years in the Peoria area.
Well, of course, when I became president, at the time, there was a difficulty in getting African Americans in good jobs, and it all begins with jobs, housing, of course, is important. Healthcare is important. But the first order of business is finding good jobs. There was a time in this city when the best that you could hope for was a job in sanitation at Caterpillar or Keystone or Hiram Walker's in this community. And so the first order of business was to try to expand the opportunities for African Americans, not only in large corporations like Caterpillar and like the ones I previously mentioned, but in some of the smaller communities, in the retail stores and places like that. We were helped, quite frankly, along the way during the civil rights years. Peoria had its own problems with respect to riots and that sort of thing. I recall vividly one night, I think the group was called the Keystone Rangers or something of that nature, but a firebomb was thrown in the vestibule of a place called, I think it was Carson Perry Scott at the time. Before that it was Block and Cools, but it was a retail store, which eventually became Chase Bank. And the next day, the corporate people in this city contacted Frank Campbell and said, we need a meeting.
And Frank had been with Tri-County Urban League.
That's right. He was the first director of the Tri-County Urban League, and basically said, what can we do to make sure that Peoria becomes a progressive community? And of course, jobs, better jobs, that was the first thing on the agenda. And all of a sudden, the doors were open and we were able to expand on the jobs. But unfortunately, when I took over the presidency in the NAACP, I still had to fight those same battles, trying to find better jobs, especially jobs for young people in this community. And unfortunately, you talk about progress, and here we are, we're still doing it today. We thought, for example, that we had, back in the late 60s, early 70s, solved the problem of African Americans becoming part of the community as policemen and firemen and part of city government and county government. Well, here we are in 2017, and we're still fighting those same battles, trying to get African Americans employment in organizations, in public organizations, where we pay taxes to support those organizations. The problem is, if you can't convince public entities to open their doors to equal opportunity, the likelihood you're going to convince small businesses and even middle-sized businesses and large businesses to do that is slim and none, because you have some leverage over public entities. The only leverage you have over private entities, if they have 15 or more employees, is to be able to file charges under the various civil rights acts that are in existence. So the bottom line is, yes, we've made some progress. We've made progress in housing, we've made progress in education, we've made progress in employment, but we seem to be stuck in the mud, so to speak.
Well, to that point, on a national level, the African American unemployment rate is somewhere around 11%. It bounces up and down a little bit, but 11%. For white Americans, it's 5.5, one half of African American unemployment rate. What can we do locally, under your leadership of the NAACP, what can we do locally to try to reduce the gap?
Well, it starts with our Peoria Public School District, which I'm glad to be working with, part of Alignment Peoria. And what Alignment Peoria is working to do is to marry the businesses here with the school district in preparation, preparing our students for those jobs and having a well-prepared workforce. I believe the disconnect has been we send our children through school, but not necessarily with a job at the end of it. So hopefully curtailing curriculum to address the need of the companies that are here. rather than just sending our kids through school that you have to take 4 years of this, 4 years of that, and then you're graduated without an expectation of a job or the possibility of a job. Or basically saying, well, if you don't go to college, you're not successful. So,
Well, to that point, if you don't go to college, quote, you're not successful. District 150, Peoria Public Schools, I'm sorry, Dr. Karat, it's Peoria Public Schools
That's
now.
correct.
It has brought back vocational education. It disappeared for quite some time.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I've been racking my brain to try to remember the superintendent who was here. A nice man, had some progressive ideas, but he believed that all students coming out of the public schools should go to college. And so they did away with trade programs within the district. You know, Manual used to be the school where you went to learn printing. Peoria High School had a shop program where they actually built homes and then eventually sold those homes. They had an auto mechanics program at Peoria High School. That all disappeared in the district. And we've been working hard through a number of superintendents to get that reinstated in the district, and I'm happy to say that Dr. Karat is on board with that, and we're seeing a resurgence of the building trades. People who are carpenters, people who are bricklayers, glazers, they make good money. And every student coming out of a high school does not need to go to college. They need a good job. They need to be part of the dream, the middle class dream, but they can do that in other trades other than going to school, accumulating a lot of debt and trying to fight through that debt.
Yes.
So.
With regard to good jobs, firefighters and police are well paid. They're good jobs. And the city council this past year made a statement that there are not enough African Americans, I should say there are not enough minorities, they put it, that they want to increase that so that by 2025, 40% of firefighters and 40% of police officers are in fact minorities. That would include women, but it would include African Americans and Hispanics. Are you going to play a role in holding the city to that test?
Well, he probably won't say it, but it's because of the NAACP this ordinance was written, because we were the ones that saw the data and on it, and we were the one that put together, under his leadership, a group to address it. So without the NAACP, we would not have those numbers to reach. So yes, we're going to continue to be involved and continue to hold them accountable to make sure that those numbers. Now, if you look around, especially this last year, the police officers or the police department have been having quite a bit of career fairs in various places, trying to get the word out in the schools, trying to get the word out to make it more accessible for minorities, African Americans and all. So it's been a concerted effort on the police department. We still got some work to do with the fire department, but we're going to hold them accountable as well.
Because the police department has a cadet program
Yes,
for young people.
yes.
Because there's a certain age you have to be before you can be a police officer. So
21 years of age, and that cadet program, I think, is going to be the key to the reaching those numbers in the future, because you can take a high school student, actually get him employed in the police department, and the individuals can learn about the career in the police department by actually working in there, get a little stipend, and then encouraged to go on to ICC. They have to be 21 years of age before they can become a police officer. But I think instilling that in the school district in the city, I'm hoping will encourage young people, especially young African Americans, to become interested in a job within the police department and within the fire department, and within other city government, dispatchers, that sort of thing. And that way ensure that we meet our goals that we've set out in those ordinances.
you mentioned earlier housing on a national level, nearly 70% of white families own a home. About 40% of African Americans own a home. And so when we talk about building wealth, one of the main ways to build wealth is to have a house, and then at the end,
Yes.
I own my house, I
Yes.
have wealth. Can the local chapter of the NAACP do something about that disparity? Can
Well,
you
sure.
encourage that in some way?
Well, sure, and we just talked about it's the job aspect. If you can't afford or have the credit to get a home without having a good job, it's almost impossible to buy a house. So you are forced to rent. So what we're doing, which is what we just mentioned, is getting access to the better paying jobs or careers, not just jobs, but careers in the trades, careers in the police department, careers in the fire department. And now, as we learned, the healthcare system here in Peoria is going to be the #1 driver. So preparing our children for that. So that will help our youth or young adults be able to purchase homes of their own. But it all starts with the job.
And I'll say kudos to the Community Action Agency. About 15 years ago, they started a program. I was on the board at the time of home ownership using tax credits. They built several units throughout the South Side and the North End in the city of Peoria. Well, and the bottom line of the program was if you lived in the house for 15 years, at the end of 15 years, you could buy it for its residual value. So we are now in that 15 year, and you'll see a lot of those homes on the South Side, even though they're cookie cutter homes, people will now be able to buy the homes. They no longer will be leasing or renting the homes from the agency. So, and I'm still on the board of the CAA, and we're looking at other housing programs that we can create in the community that together with the NAACP, finding the jobs so that people can buy the homes and begin to build wealth in our community.
So it's important for the NAACP to partner with other agencies, other organizations to try to affect change?
Collaboration is the key as far as I'm concerned, and we need to do more of it. I've heard it said that Peoria is the greatest silo city ever. In other words, people are doing a lot of good things, but people don't know what everybody else is doing. So one of the things that I am working hard to do and setting out to do and being intentional is working with other organizations, because it's going to take all of us to lift this boat. And when we all do better, as it's been said.
I know, Don, that as you stepped aside in your leadership role at the NAACP, one of your disappointments was you were not able to create a youth group. And Pastor, I'll have you address it as well,
Sure.
but what's your expectation? How might you go about making sure that young African Americans get more involved in their community?
Well, we got to reach out to them, and we're going to need the help of the Bradley chapter of the NAACP. We got to bring them on board so that they can encourage youngsters who are still in high school and middle school to get involved and to actually tell them why they need to be involved. Part of the problem has been, I always thought in this community, is that young African Americans almost seem to believe that they have nothing to be proud of in this community or in the United States. They don't know about the contributions of African Americans before them to the development of this country. And so I think that we need a comprehensive African American history program in high school, and I've been pounding this drum for years, that actually looks at the real accomplishments of African Americans to the country and to the world, and how that tradition can go on to give people, the young people, something to be proud of. So, it's going to take some work, but I think that's one of the areas that we have to start looking at. And of course, encouraging them to be involved in politics, because Every political decision affects their life on a daily basis. But they need to know that. They've been so disconnected. You know, they didn't go through the years that Pastor and I went through in terms of being faced with real discrimination. But it eventually happens. It's incredible the number of people that find the NAACP who have never been involved before, but all of a sudden they get stung with discrimination in the workplace, and the first thing they do, the first organization they look to is the NAACP to help them out.
Steps to get young people more involved?
Of course, working with the school district, working with other organizations, as he mentioned, Bradley chapter, which I'm excited about them getting reactivated, and so that'll help in reaching out. Then other youth organizations that's already in existence that are looking for opportunities to be a part of something bigger than what's currently being done.
You have a forum coming up on February the 9th,
Yes.
talking about getting African Americans more involved in politics, as Don mentioned.
Yes.
There are several African Americans running for office, but you have a forum. Can you tell us about the forum?
Yeah, this will be specifically for the mayoral and township supervisor. That forum will be held on February 9th, as you mentioned, 6 to 8:30 at Ward Chapel AME Church on Richard Allen Street or Drive. And we're going to be able to specifically ask, what are the plans for the city, especially on the heels of the big announcement the other day? What are the plans? What are your plans for the 61605? I believe, and I'm hoping that the city leaders, and I believe Mayor even mentioned it, that our focus needs to be like a laser on 61605 because it's our community. It's a part of our community. 61605 is our community, and Peoria needs to look at it in that way, not as a separate community. It's not them and theirs. It's us and ours. So like a laser focus. So we'll be able to ask those hard questions. Well, what are your plans? What do you want to do? How do you want to address this situation? What do you need from us?
He mentioned 61605, Don. The health of the entire city, the health of the entire region is only as strong as all its parts. 61605 has gotten a lot of attention. 24/7 Wall Street and other organizations have pointed to it. 24/7 Wall Street even pointed to the city as being the worst in the nation.
Number one.
How do you get the message out that we as an entire region need to address these kinds of issues?
Well, we got to keep pounding on it, although I'm not enamored with this idea that a lot of what needs to be done in Peoria is driven by the region. I can't imagine that people in Woodford County care less, or they could care less about how we get employment within the city government, for example. That's a city problem. That's not a regional problem. But, you know, 61605 is the oldest area in the city of Peoria. And it's tragic to be able to say that in 2017, they still need sidewalks in the south side of Peoria. You know, when we built the ball diamond out in North Peoria, sidewalks were not an issue. The city jumped in, did the infrastructure work, and it was no issue. Rarely do you see any place else in the city of Peoria where people lack the ability to walk on sidewalks and instead have to walk in the streets, you know. The lighting in 61605 is terrible. The Western Avenue corridor, we could find $30 million to improve Washington Street, and we're still improving Washington Street, but we can't find any money, and the city manager keeps telling us there's no money available to do an improvement of Western Avenue in the city of Peoria.
I want one more issue to get to in a very brief period of time. Sure. Pastor, the website for the local chapter is down. Facebook hasn't had a lot of activity other than mentioning the forum on Feb 9. What are you doing?
We're going to be specific, and one of the reasons why the website was down is because it wasn't really user-friendly. So right now, you can still go to the PeoriaNAACP.com website, and if you have an issue, you can still fill out a form there to that the message will get to the branch or to the office, or actually to me, and it will get to the proper committee. So we're being strategic and we're being specific and intentional in getting our website up to speed. We're going to be intentional about getting our Facebook page out. We're going to be intentional about tweeting. We're going to be intentional about Instagramming so that we can reach the audience that we need to reach, so that we can communicate what actually is going on in the NAACP.
And with that, we have run out of our time. Lots of things we could be talking about. And we
Invite
hope-
us back. We'll be glad to come
we're
back.
glad to
yeah.
Well,
come
we
back.
hope that the audience continues the conversation at home. As always, Don Jackson, thank you so much for joining
My
us
pleasure.
on that issue, and thank you for more than 2 decades of leadership in the NAACP.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And welcome aboard the leadership position at
Thank
the NAACP to you,
Thank you.
Pastor Hightower, who is also pastor at Liberty Church in Peoria. Next time on At Issue, we're going to be taking a look at how a change in tradition is impacting cemeteries. We'll have cemetery representatives from Bloomington, Springfield, and Peoria to discuss cremation and other issues. Join us next time on At Issue.